Your room is either a battery charger or a battery drainer. If your home is disorganized, your brain is under constant chemical attack. Stop trying to meditate the stress away and start engineering it out of your environment. It's time to build a space that lowers your cortisol, not your potential. Hello, fellow scanners and deep-thinking introverts. Let's start with a moment of radical, slightly uncomfortable honesty. I want you to look around your current workspace. On your left, you likely have what I call geological layers of ambition, a stack of books on 17th century philosophy you intend to read someday. On your right, a tangled nest of charging cables that looks like a robotic octopus having a midlife crisis. And somewhere under that pile of unopened mail is a desk you haven't actually seen since the last time a European football team won the World Cup. As a mind decoder, I'm here to tell you that this isn't just a mess. In the world of environmental psychology, those stacks of paper and tangled wires aren't just background noise. They are a biological input. And right now, that input is telling your brain that you are under siege. We've all been there. You feel exhausted at 9 p.m., yet your brain is wired. You have brain fog, yet you're irritable. You try to sit down and focus on one of your dozen brilliant projects, but you find yourself scrolling through your phone instead. You think the problem is your lack of discipline, so you try to meditate it away. But trying to meditate in a cluttered room is like trying to pray in the middle of a motorway. The environment is simply too loud for the message to get through. The truth is, your walls have a pulse, and if you aren't careful, that pulse is thumping out a rhythm of chronic low-grade anxiety that is literally shrinking your cognitive capacity. To understand why, we have to look at a neurological pathway I call the Eye-Adrenal Axis. You see, your brain is an evolutionary detective. It is constantly scanning your surroundings to answer one ancient question. Am I safe enough to relax? When your eyes scan a room filled with unfinished laundry, unfiled taxes, and random objects with no home, they send a frantic signal to your hypothalamus, the brain's command center for survival. Your hypothalamus doesn't see clutter, it sees a threat of unfinished business. Evolutionarily, an unpredictable environment meant a predator could be hiding in the brush. In the 21st century, your brain treats a messy kitchen counter or a disorganized desk with the same neurological suspicion it once reserved for a rustle in the tall grass. It perceives disorganization as an unresolved threat. In response, your adrenal glands begin to pump out small, consistent microdoses of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Now, cortisol is fantastic if you are being chased by a wolf in the Black Forest. It sharpens your reflexes and shuts down unnecessary systems like your digestive tract and your long-term creative thinking. But when your home environment keeps you in a state of low-grade fight or flight for 16 hours a day, the results are catastrophic for a multitasker. High cortisol levels literally clog the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain. This is where your logic, your deep focus, and your ability to connect complex ideas live. When cortisol is high, the CEO goes on an unplanned vacation, leaving the panic interns in charge. This is the biological root of brain fog. You feel tired but wired because your environment is keeping your nervous system's foot glued to the accelerator while the car is still in the garage. For the introvert, this is even more taxing. Many introverts possess a trait called sensory processing sensitivity. This means your brain doesn't just see the clutter, it feels it. Every object is a ping on your attention. Every disorganized corner is a visual shout. You think you are tuning out the mess, but neuropsychology confirms that your brain is expending a massive amount of energy just to inhibit the distraction. You're burning through your daily mental battery just by sitting in an engineered disaster zone. But biology isn't destiny. We don't need a week at a luxury spa to feel calm. We just need to move from a state of survival mode to a state of environmental safety. We need to restructure your existing four walls to act as a physical antidepressant. So, the CEO of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, is currently hiding under the desk because your home looks like a tactical explosion in a paper mill. We know that the eye-adrenal axis is pumping out cortisol, and we know that you can't simply willpower your way into focus when your environment is screaming at you. Now, as your resident mind decoder, I'm going to give you the blueprint for environmental safety. In neuropsychology, environmental safety is a state where your nervous system determines that the surveillance task is complete. It's the moment the brain's smoke detector stops chirping and says, "All right, everyone, the perimeter is secure, you can stand down." When this happens, your body shifts from the sympathetic nervous system, the gas pedal of stress, to the parasympathetic nervous system, the brakes of rest and digest. This is where your potential lives. But to get there, we have to stop cleaning and start engineering. Step 1. The principle of visual silence. The first thing we need to manufacture is visual silence. Think of your brain like a web browser. Every object in your field of vision is a background tab that is currently loading. Even if you aren't looking at the pile of shoes in the hallway, your brain is tabbing it. By creating areas of nothingness, empty shelves, clear tabletops, blank wall space, you provide your brain with visual rest. In psychology, this leads to cognitive ease. When information processing feels effortless because there is less information to process, your baseline stress drops. It's the equivalent of taking a deep biological breath. You aren't just being neat, you are reducing the background noise of your existence. For the introvert, this is a sanctuary. For the multitasker, it is the only way to prevent your RAM from crashing. Step 2. The 20-inch rule, protecting the peripheral. Now let's talk about your war room, your workspace. For the high-functioning multitasker, your peripheral vision is your greatest enemy. Evolutionarily, our peripheral vision is designed to detect movement and threats. If you're trying to write a brilliant report, but your desk is covered in coffee mugs, sticky notes, and half-repaired gadgets, your peripheral vision is constantly pinging your brain with small alerts. I want you to implement the 20-inch rule. Maintain a 20-inch radius, about 50 centimeters, of absolute pristine nothingness around your computer or primary work area. This creates a flow zone. By clearing the immediate peripheral, you stop the cortisol spikes before they start. You're telling your brain, within this circle, nothing can hurt us, everything is resolved. This allows you to enter a flow state faster because you aren't expending energy ignoring the clutter noise. Step 3. Neural predictability, the home principle. The human brain hates unpredictability. An organized room is by definition unpredictable. Your brain has to work harder to navigate a space where the car keys move every 3 days. This searching behavior is a major cognitive load. Engineering for safety means engineering for predictability. Every object must have a biological home. When an object has a designated place, your basal ganglia, the brain's autopilot, takes over. You no longer have to decide where things go, you simply react. Predictability is the ultimate cortisol killer. When your environment is predictable, your brain perceives it as solved, and a solved environment is a safe environment. This allows your adrenal glands to finally stop the microdosing of stress hormones. Step 4. Biophilic De-escalation, the nature hack. Finally, we use a bit of ancient hardware to our advantage, biophilic design. Research in environmental psychology shows that integrating natural elements, wood textures, natural light, and green plants can lower heart rates and cortisol levels within minutes. Why? Because for 99.8% of human history, green and bright meant resource-rich and safe. You don't need to turn your apartment into a jungle, but adding a single plant to your 20-inch flow zone or moving your desk to face a window isn't just a decorating tip. It is a neuropsychological intervention. It's a way to hack the ancient parts of your brain into feeling a sense of profound calm, even if you are working on a high-stress project in the middle of a European winter. The conclusion: reclaiming your potential. Let's bring this all together. Your brain is a masterpiece of evolutionary survival, but it is currently being exploited by a physical environment that it perceives as a chronic threat. You aren't bad at life because your room is a mess. You are just a human being whose nervous system is trying to protect you from unfinished business. But remember, your room is either a battery charger or a battery drainer. By engineering for visual silence, implementing the 20-inch rule, and ensuring neuropredictability, you are doing something much more powerful than just tidying up. You are deactivating the stress response. You are telling your adrenal glands to stand down and your prefrontal cortex to come back to work. Stop trying to meditate the stress away while sitting in a disaster zone. Meditation won't fix a chemical attack triggered by your environment. You have to engineer the stress out of your Kongzhan. To help you with this transition, I've created a cortisol audit, a simple 3-step blueprint to help you identify the chemical hot zones in your house and how to engineer them into safety zones in under 20 minutes. You can download it for free at the link in the description. Build the space, lower the cortisol, decode your mind. I'm the Mind Decoder, and I'll see you in the next one.